Yes, let me.
And you'll introduce me, yes?
I will just briefly
Okay.
introduce, and then you can tell about your story along the way.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let me see. Let's go ahead. Put this over here. Welcome, everyone. We're going to start in about a minute. Let's go ahead and I'll get my windows organized where I can see the questions. Okay. So welcome, everyone. My name is Amulya Garga. I'm the chairman of SCORE Princeton, and I'm very happy to welcome you to today's webinar about publishing, self-publishing. So let me go ahead and share my screen, show you a couple of slides about SCORE, and then we can go ahead and get to today's program. So some of you are new, so let me just mention that SCORE is a nonprofit organization nationwide, and we were started in 1964. So we've been around, and we've helped about 11 million people since then, entrepreneurs, and we have a lot of impact in terms of local communities because we have about 250, about more than 250 chapters nationwide. You were attending here with SCORE Princeton. We serve the southwest quarter of the state of New Jersey and about 30% of the population. And nationally, SCORE helped, this is fiscal year 2020 statistics. The fiscal year 2021 statistics will be coming out soon. So they look more or less similar. And so you can see we really helped a lot of businesses and new jobs and also women entrepreneurs, minority entrepreneurs, veteran entrepreneurs. We really have a diverse impact. We are a resource partner, nonprofit resource partner of the Small Business Administration. Now, one of the key points I want to make here is the upper right. You can see that clients, small business clients that receive more than 3 hours of mentoring, they report that they have higher revenues and business growth. So for that reason, our motto is for the life of your business. We're not in a rush to get in and out. We are there as long as you need us. And we have clients who have been with us for like years and dozens of sessions and so on. So keep that in mind. So and locally, SCORE Princeton, we helped 740 clients last year. That was higher than the year before, which was 517. So this is latest statistics. And we delivered over 3,600 services. That has also gone up. And we have right now about 55 mentors, business mentors. And we've been improving our operations and our number of services and everything, really. So we were recognized nationally with these two awards. So an Outstanding Client Education Award last year for our workshop program. And then this year, Most Improved Chapter in the Mid-Atlantic region, which is basically about 35 of the chapters. But really, we were tied nationally. So we were tied for number one place nationally. And so that's, we are grateful for that. And it's just another recognition of our high quality volunteers that we bring to you. So for the life of your business is our motto. And then we also serve you all throughout your business life cycle, whether it's you're just preparing to, you're even not decided to whether you're starting or either growing or having some issues that we can help you with. And these are just a few questions we can help you with, but really we take a team approach. So in fact, we'll bring in typically 2 mentors to each client. And then along the journey of their business, we can rotate the mentors as the needs change. And that is not limited to just this chapter. We can bring in from the whole nation, all our about 11,000 volunteer colleagues. And so you can find all that at princeton.score.org. Please keep visiting frequently because we do update our workshops and other things there. So these are just our bearings, as they say, our contact information. So please make sure you follow us and visit our social media channels, because we do put a lot more information there, and you can certainly interact there. And by doing so, you will help us reach more people, because the more activity the algorithms see, then they promote it better. So with that said, it's my great pleasure. I'm going to stop sharing and introduce the speaker. So Bill Gee is our speaker, and I'm going to go off camera so he can take over. And he is going to talk about this very interesting topic about publishing, how you can get published, and all the nuances of it, all the dirty secrets, but maybe not so dirty, but all the important secrets in there. So I'm actually also looking forward to that. So as I turn it over, we will you can write your question in the Q&A box anytime they come up, and we can, Bill will let us know when he's open to different questions. And also the chat is there in case you have other things. But maybe I would suggest, Bill, if it's okay with you, I'll as you start introducing your background and stuff, I'll ask people to put in the chat their name, maybe just what, if they have a business, what that's about, or what their interest is, and it'll be very nice to know about the audience. So with that, it's my great pleasure to welcome Bill Gee. Go ahead.
Hello, it's actually G, as a soft G.
I'm sorry. My name starts with a G, so it's a soft G. And
Okay.
But yeah, thank you for the correction.
No problem, no problem. Hello there, everyone. I'm Bill G. I am the owner of a small business called Vital Bioenergetics. It is a esoteric cooperative, a multi-practitioner cooperative to help people live their best lives. And we do this through spiritual counseling, through healthcare. And we just recently took on a new partner who sells, it's called Biofield Expert, and she brings into the equation supplements and nutritional supplements and other things. So what I'm going to be talking to you about today is self-publishing, because when I first started out my business a few years ago, I realized that one of the things that this business really requires is credibility. And one of the things that gives one credibility is having some published books to display at your booth or whatever. And so I started working on my first book. And then after that, I had another book and another book after that. And I realized pretty quickly that I made a lot of mistakes with the first book. And the first book, I went through a self-publishing arm of Hay House, which is called Balboa Press. They were very expensive. And I realized that a lot of the work that they were doing, I could do myself. And so everything that I learned in that process, I'll be sharing with you in this webinar. So where is my share screen? So I have a PowerPoint that I'll be going through, and then at the end, there'll be a time for Q&A, and I hope you find this very, very interesting. Okay, so here we go. How to be a published author without a publisher. So as I said before, the publishing business has actually changed a lot in the last few years. In the old days, how it would work is you would have an idea for a book and you'd write it, and then you would send out copy to various different publishers, and then they would send you lots of reject letters until you finally got one that says, yes, we're willing to take a risk on you. And voila, you're then published at that point. And they give you some money and you get some royalties, but that has all changed. Unless you are already an established writer or already an established author, getting the major publishers to actually publish your book, especially if you're a first-time writer, is near impossible these days. And again, you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? So The agenda for what I'm going to be talking about is, first of all, the key takeaways is, first of all, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and my background, which I already have. We're going to figure out why we write. Why do we spend all this time coming up with a book and putting it out there? So understanding the why is extremely important. And then I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide from idea to upload. And then we're going to talk a bit about ebooks and audiobooks. And then we're going to talk about marketing the book. So who am I? I'm a speaker, author, Akashic dowser, owner of Vital Bioenergetics, the multi-practitioner esoteric healing cooperative. I am an author of, I have 4 self-published books out there on Amazon right now. I am actually a former CFO of a publishing company, very small publishing company called Leap Books LLC, which is no longer in existence. And again, that was again part of the whole idea that the publishing world has changed. And I'm also been the editor publisher of 2 additional books for one of my clients, poetry, and then 1 children's book. So I've got a wide range here of different book types that I can tell you about. So why we write. This is so important. So why are we doing this? Why are we spending so much time? I've got something to say. I have a story that I want to tell. That's great. That is really the first step. You want the world to know who you are. Okay. So say you are starting out a new business and it's a kind of a niche market and not many people know about what you do. And that's certainly the case for me, because when you say Akashic dowser, what the heck is that? So you want to have something out there, something in writing that kind of tells the world, this is who I am and this is what I do. You may be thinking that, hey, I really like to write. Maybe I'm going to change my career. Maybe I want to be a professional writer. Maybe I want to be a professional editor, and I want to get my feet wet on what that publishing process is like. The last thing is, it's never, ever about making money. I mean, if you're thinking that you're going to be the next Stephen King or the next Nora Roberts or whatever, just get that out of your head right now, because let's just be real here for a second. Those authors have been writing for a very, very long time, and they have an established following and whatever. And as a brand new author, you are going to be seeing very small paychecks when it comes to your royalties. I mean, sometimes books take off. I mean, yes, sometimes they do really, really well. I get paid every quarter for my royalties for my 4 books, and generally they range in 30 to, one time it was as much as $100 a quarter. So this is something you're not going to get rich doing. So you have to consider there for a moment, how much am I willing to invest in this project? Because this project is going to take up a great deal of time. It's going to take a great deal of skill. And depending on how many resources you have available to you, you're going to have to outsource a great deal of the production of the book as well. And you have to consider that as well. All right. Not to discourage you. Again, I want to encourage you, because having a book, having published materials that tell the world who you are, that anyone can buy on Amazon, gives your business a tremendous amount of street credibility, what we call street cred in the business. That, because it says, hey, that guy or that gal knows what they're talking about, because, hey, they wrote a book. Okay, so where do you start? You start by writing your book. And again, this is not a class on how to write a book, because there are many different ways of doing it. There are other webinars out there that'll show you the nuts and bolts on how to write a book. This is going to be showing you the side of kind of the technical side of that. First of all, you need to use Word. Love them or hate them, Microsoft Word is still the premier word processing program out there. There are other word processing programs out there. Some of them you may love a lot more than Word because Word can sometimes get kind of clunky. Unfortunately, Word provides you the easiest tools for transforming your manuscript. So once you have your manuscript written, you need to transform it. You have to adjust your page sizes. You got to put your margins in there. You've got to put your page numbers, and then you have to change all of that into a PDF that Amazon is going to then accept in the upload. And Word's the easiest way to do it because all of their online tutorials use Word. If you can work your way around it, or workarounds that help you do the same things that Word does, that's fantastic. But I strongly recommend using Word. As you write each chapter, save them in separate files. So you have a folder. This is my book. This is file number 1 is chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and you have them in separate files. Why do we do this? First of all, if you're looking to actually find a real publisher, one of the major publishers out there, you can send sample chapters out to those people because you don't want to be giving them the entire farm, because your book is a work in progress. Hey, I know that chapter 1 or chapter 2, that is tight. I know that I'm not going to be changing that too much. And that represents kind of what the whole book is going to be about. So I'll send out that smaller chapter. This also helps you stay organized. I know that if I need to go back and change something, I'll be able to go back and change it on a small file. Or if you're working with an editor and you need to be sharing files through email, doing it on small files is a lot easier to do it than on a large file. So what am I writing? So this is just over here we have just a quick word count by genre. So depending on what you are writing. So let's say that you're writing a children's book. Your children's books have very low word counts. Only 1 to 200 words is your average children's book. Poetry and prose is 500 to 2,000 words. If you're doing a how-to book or a novella, those are 40,000 to 50,000 words. Nonfiction, essay, those types of books, 50,000 to 100. Young adult is anywhere between 50,000 to 75,000 because younger people generally have lower attention spans, so you want to be catering to that. And a novel can have anywhere between 90,000 to 200,000 words because your novels are usually more heavy on the word counts. Now, I understand that Nora Roberts and Stephen King and these other big authors out there have books out there that are in the 300,000 plus word counts. You don't, as a new author, you do not want to go there because we're talking about a tome here. When it's 300,000 words, you got a book as thick as the Bible. Readers, you want your readers to want to invest the time in your book, and the thinner the book, the more likely they're going to take a chance on a new author. If a thick book like that, they'll pass you by and they're like, I don't want to put that much investment of time in somebody I don't know, or I don't know if I'm going to enjoy that book. Give them something smaller so that way they'll enjoy it, they'll get through it faster, and then they'll be more anxious to read you. If you've got something that's really, literally thick, split it up, turn it into a series. Book 1, book 2, book 3, you turn a 300,000 word book into a 3-part series. Now you can help people buy into selling more copy, and on top of that, you've got them hooked on the long term. So now you got your book written. Now you have to think editing. Do it yourself versus hiring a pro. The advantages of doing it yourself: nobody knows your story better than you do. So when you're going through your book, you know your story, you know where the highlights are and where they're not. And your editor's not necessarily going to know all that. And there are apps out there like Grammarly. Grammarly is awesome. It catches the most obvious errors, your spelling errors and your most obvious grammar errors. Hiring a pro can be expensive, which will add to your overall cost of your project. Again, you have to think about that cost benefit. Is it in my cost benefits scenario here to hire an editor? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. When you hire a pro, you get a lot out of that. They can check for consistency and flow, which is something that you might not be able to do. You might be a little too attached emotionally to your story. You might think you've got the most great story in the world, but the editor is going to check your pacing. They're going to make sure that you're doing it, that you are capturing the attention span of the reader. You're not necessarily going to be able to do that as the author. They check for unintentional plagiarism and copyright violations, especially if it's a book containing research. You don't want to plagiarize, and sometimes it's unintentional, sometimes it's intentional, but a lot of times it's unintentional. They will check your facts as well for accuracy in the most current research. So if you are quoting a study that was done in 1995 and they are aware that there's another study that was done in 2010, which is a lot more updated, they will direct you to that research, and then you can use that to update what you're saying, because if you're quoting outdated research, that actually hurts your credibility. So now you've got your book edited, and you've got it written, you got it edited. Now you got to think cover art. So what I've got here, these are cover arts that were designed by my wife, Nina. She's a pro. So again, DIY versus pro. My wife, Nina, has been doing cover art for authors while we were doing with Leap Books, and she's also a professional graphic designer, so she knows what she's doing. So again, DIY versus pro. If you do not understand, or you're not comfortable making your own cover art, hire a pro. Amazon KDP has online templates for DIYers, but they are terrible. They do not do a good job at all. So if you can't afford to hire somebody, yes, you can do that, but you can usually spot a self-published book or a DIY cover a mile away, because they're generally the most boring, the ones that are not going to really catch your eye. And a experienced professional book cover artist not only will come up with a beautiful cover art that you are going to love, but they have also done research on books of that genre and what is currently selling. That is invaluable, because a cover artist is someone who's not just a good artist. They are also up to date on the latest book marketing. And so that's very important, because you want your book to stand out as current, and most people will judge a book by its cover. So if you don't have a book that's really going to capture somebody's eye, they're not going to buy it. And they're certainly not going to read it. So what you need to know as the author about your book cover: the cover needs to be cut to the exact dimensions of the book, including the spine. So your designer needs to know what your printed page count is in order to get this right. There are tools on Amazon KDP. What you would do is you put in how many pages the book is, and it will tell you what the size of your spine is going to be. Minimum is 100 pages for any spine art. If your book is less than 100 pages, it does not get spine art. If it's more than 100 pages, then it does get spine art. So that's something to be important. When I talk about spine art, what I'm talking about here is, if you look here on here, that's spine art. That's the name of your book. So that way, when it's sitting on a bookcase with a whole bunch of other books, people can read what it is. If it's less than 100 pages long, that's not going to happen. The front and back cover are saved as a single PDF file, including the spine. So that's a single PDF, and that gets uploaded into KDP. The front cover only is saved as a JPEG or PNG file, and that's for the ebook. So the ebook is going to be a JPEG or a PNG file. The printed version of the book cover is going to be a PDF. That is very, very important to remember. If you are also going to do an audiobook, the audiobook's cover is square. So it's not this nice, this nice rectangular shape at all. It is a square, and so that has to also be done as a JPEG, a JPG file or a PNG file. Illustrations. Now, illustrations are wonderful, especially if you're writing a textbook or you're writing a children's book or something like that, or just even illustrations within a book of poetry or illustrations for your book. They really help your book stand out, especially when someone's looking at your book in the bookstore and they thumb through it and they're like, oh, look, an illustration. Cool. That gets them to stop as they're skimming through your book, and you want them to stop. You want their eyes on your page as much as possible before they read the book. And the illustrations help you do that because it gives the eye a stopping point. So again, if you are not an artist, this is a job best left for a pro. These illustrations here are all from books that we have published. My wife and I have published. This one here, this one is from the children's book that we did. So there are many copyright-free images on the internet. So as far as illustrations are concerned, you can use copyright-free illustrations, but I strongly suggested that you use them sparingly, because if your book is filled with copyright-free images, again, it lowers the overall quality of the book. If you're doing a children's book, understand that 60 to 70% of your royalties go to the illustrator, because again, how many words are we talking about in a children's book? Only 100 to 200 words. The majority of book work in a children's book is illustration, because that's why kids love children's books, because they got the pretty pictures. That's why the illustrator gets most of the royalty on that. So if you're working with an illustrator, there needs to be some kind of contract drawn up promising them 60 to 70% of the royalties. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Then you need to purchase each picture individually. And if you get a really good one, prices range for illustrations for a children's book anywhere between $50 and $500, depending on who you got. And that's per illustration. Again, that raises the printing costs of your book, of the project. So just keep that in mind. So things you need to know: color illustrations increase the printing cost of the book. Graphics, including charts and tables, these things here, the charts and tables and all that stuff, those are illustrations, and they, as much time and care that goes into a illustration like this beautiful man with the Merkaba and the Taurus, that's great. Much time and care should go also into this and into this and into this, because again, it's helping to tell your story and it raises the bar of your overall project. Illustrations. Hold on to your illustrations. If you need a placeholder in your text, just put in a little thing in the center that says illustration goes here. That's important to note. Know where your illustrations are going to go in the text, but don't actually place them in the text. I know in Word you can do that. Resist the temptation, because once you have sized your book, size the book, and get an idea of what that finished book is going to look like, that's when you're going to be putting your illustrations in. And also you need to keep the files separate here. So you're going to have one Word file that's going to be your for your print book, and you're going to have one Word file that's going to be your ebook. Keep them separate. And again, when you're done all of your editing and you're happy with the way it's all laid out, the pacing's right, that's when you're going to create a duplicate file for that book. So that way you have a separate file for your ebook. Because once you have your printed page size in, then you can go into your Word file and put your illustrations in and size them correctly, so that way they fit comfortably on the page. So that way it eliminates a lot of white space. You want to limit the amount of white space as much as possible. So setting up your book for print, it's time to get this thing over to KDP. If you have an Amazon account, you need an Amazon account. If you have an Amazon account where you're buying stuff online, great, you're already set up. Go to kdp.amazon.com, and there is where you're going to be setting up shop for your book. So first of all, combine all your chapters into a single Word file, format the page sizes for the print size of the book, and then you're going to put in your illustrations for the print one, and you're going to leave out the illustrations for the ebook until you're ready, and we'll get to that when we get to that. If you are thinking that, oh, well, these standard sizes, because they give you some nice standard sizes to work with. Oh, I don't like that standard size. I want to go with something different. Just realize if you're going to go with an unusual size, it will increase your printing costs. And if your whole idea is, I want to do this as cheaply as possible, keep with the standard sizes. Then you go to Amazon.com, follow the tutorials. There are lots and lots of tutorials that will take you through every step of the way in your Word file to put in your page numbers. So we're talking, you've got your page numbers down here. You've got your headers, you got your chapter headers, and your table of contents and all that stuff. You need to make sure that you follow those very well, because that'll make your life a whole lot easier, especially when it comes to table of contents. You want to make sure that your table of contents is constantly updating as you are putting in your illustrations, because that's going to change your page counts. Then when you've got the whole thing, you've gone over it, it looks beautiful, then you're going to convert it into a PDF document, and now you are ready to upload. So you're going to upload your manuscript, you're going to upload your cover art, and then it's going to take you through a quality control program where you're going to review it. You can look at the entire thing page by page by page, and I strongly advise you to do that to make sure that you are happy with your finished product, because once it goes off and once it goes live, if you need to change anything, it is a pain in the butt. So definitely take care of that beforehand. Pro tips here. Amazon will not print if the cover bleed isn't right. And if you don't know what color bleed is, your illustrator does. The headers and footers, are they too close to the edge of the page? If they're too close to the edge of the page, you're going to get a friendly notice back from Amazon KDP that this is not right. It generally takes 24 to 48 hours for Amazon to get back to you and say, this is going to work or this is not going to work. So keep that in mind. It's not an instant thing where they come back and a computer program looks at it. An actual human being takes a look at this to make sure that everything is okay. And then they give you a detailed list of everything that is wrong with your book and what you need to fix. They also will not print if there are too many blank pages. So the operative word here is proofread, proofread, proofread. Proofread your book so many times that you are sick of looking at it and you never want to see it again. Now, you've got your print book. You've sent that off into KDP world, and now they're saying everything's good, and you say, publish that puppy. And you're like, okay, now I want to do my ebook. First thing you're going to need to do from KDP is to download a program called Kindle Create. It is your friend. You can all download it for the Mac or the PC. In the Kindle Create, you are using your Word document, the separate Word document that I told you about, that that duplicate without the illustrations. You're going to then upload that into Kindle Create, and then you're going to use the JPEG PNG version of your cover art for the book cover, and then it will take you through a process where you can then put in your illustrations. And again, it's a very user-friendly program that'll allow you to put everything in there. And the reason why it's different from your print book is because it's a different world. This is designed specifically to go onto a Kindle or to be read by your mobile device. You got an iPhone, you can download your ebook into your book, into your phone, and read it directly off of your phone or your tablet. And that is how it's designed to go. So it's not going to be the same thing. That's why we have to use Kindle Create and not just use the print version of your book. Audiobooks. Audiobooks will open you up to a whole new market. 60 to 75% of readers prefer audiobooks rather than printed or ebook formats. So often a reader will purchase both the audiobook and the printed version of the book if they enjoy it. So if people enjoy the audiobook, they'll often buy the printed version. So that way they always have a copy on hand. Or they'll buy the printed book, they'll start reading it. It's like, wow, this is really great, but I don't have a whole lot of time to read this. Hey, I'll listen to it on my morning commute. I'll buy the audiobook as well. So that opens up new markets. Actually, it's the same market. You can have the same customer buying both your print book or your ebook and your audiobook. So it's a double whammy here as far as getting additional revenue. Audiobooks are easy to do if you know how. Audible.com allows you to market your audiobook right next to your printed book. So for Conscious Conduit and Spirit Path Book of Days Volume 1, I did it on audio. So, and if you look it up online in Amazon, you'll see that you can buy the print book, you can buy the audiobook, or you can buy the ebook, whichever is most convenient for you. And like I said, most people who enjoy your print book will also buy your audiobook and vice versa. You can hire a narrator directly through Audible. Or if you've got a wonderful speaking voice like myself, then you can do it yourself. Hey, you know your voice better than anybody else. If you've got a heavy accent, or you tend to stutter a lot, or you're very nervous talking, and you don't have a very strong public speaking voice, then I recommend hiring a narrator. And again, all you do is on Audible, you put it out, and there are narrators on Audible who are constantly looking at the listings, and you put out an ad. This is what I'm looking for a narrator to read my children's book. I am looking for a narrator to read my book of poetry, whatever. Then they contact you, you set up an agreement, you pay them, they do your audio, and they're going to do it right. And that's very, very important too, because you look at this next one here, setting up your book for audio. It's not a generally easy process. I just want to warn you right off the bat here, because first of all, you need an audio mixer, GarageBand or similar. There are free or pay software ones that are out there. General rule is the more you pay, the more technical support you're going to get. Use good equipment. I cannot emphasize this enough. Get a decent microphone. Get decent headphones. Do not use your computer's microphone or a set of earbuds, the pickup is not nearly as clear as it needs to be. And if a decent microphone should cost you more than $50. Check your settings. Audible is extremely picky when it comes to their audio files. You need to double check all of your settings. Go through Audible's FAQ section, making sure that your file is as clean as possible. You record one chapter at a time, and every time you record a chapter, upload it, allow Audible to go through its QC process, the quality control process, so that way you know that Audible is accepting it. Once the entire thing is done and it is uploaded, Audible will go through it again. An actual live person is going to review your audio files, and if it is unacceptable, they will send it back to you and say, this is wrong, your setting was wrong here, and you need to do it all over again. When I recorded Conscious Conduit, I had to record it 6 times before I finally got it right. It's a tedious process. Again, if you have the money to hire a pro, I recommend it. You know, I'm a glutton for punishment, so I did it on my own. So, marketing your book. This is extremely important, especially if you want people to actually buy and read your book. Set a reasonable price point. Compare your book with others that are in that particular genre and set it at or about the same level. Don't think to yourself, oh, if I charge $20 for this book, I'm going to get X number in royalties for each sale. Well, this book like this generally doesn't sell for $20 a copy. This one generally sells for about $8 to $10 a copy. So set your price point at $8 to $10. Ebooks are about 70% less than your print books. So when you set your price point for an ebook, take 70% off, and that is the price for your ebook. Why? Because it's an ebook. It's something that's downloadable. There's no printing costs involved, and your customer gets this right away. Audiobooks are about 20% higher than a print book because of the extra steps involved in creating an audio file. And then going back to why we write, understand why. Why does this book even exist? How you market your book is going to, and how much you spent to do it, is going to depend greatly on why you're doing it. I wrote these books to market my business. I did not write these books to be the next best-selling self-help author out there. So again, this allows me to really keep in mind, hey, I really don't want to be spending thousands and thousands of dollars making sure that this book is in every Barnes and Nobles across the country. It's really not that important to me. What's more important to me is that it's available for people to look me up when they're thinking about booking a session with me. So that's why I wrote this book. If you, on the other hand, want to write a book to sell lots and lots of copies, then yeah, spending the extra money on marketing or marketing services, that will make sense to you. Use social media wisely. Many authors will establish dedicated websites for their books or special authors social media pages, while others will piggyback their social media on other stuff. Your social media is fine for announcements, but potential readers will tend to make you more seriously if you have a dedicated web page and or a dedicated social media page for your book. Most book marketing companies are scams. Now they're not all scams, but I'm telling you, I did Conscious Conduit through Balboa Press, and I get at least 2 to 3 calls a week from marketing companies that want to put my book in every bookcase in America and whatever. We'll do this for you. Just give us an extra $1,000 or give us an extra $2,500 or whatever. and you will not see that money ever again. You'll send them their money. A lot of them are big on promises, but low on delivery. They're more than happy to take your money. They will do what they say. They'll make a gazillion copies of your book, and then you've got a room full of books that you can't move. Again, keep that in mind. Why am I doing this? Am I doing this to market my business, or am I doing this to be the next best-selling author? Some book marketing companies are perfectly legitimate, and if you work for one, that's great. But there are a lot of them out there who are more than willing to take your money and then be very, very short on delivery because they already got your money. They don't need to fulfill their promises because they've already made their margin by just selling you the marketing package to begin with. And then at that point, their stake in holding you, keeping you as a customer goes away very, very quickly. Okay, so there's my presentation. If you want to learn more about who I am and what I do, you can text or voicemail me at my phone number, which is 215-582-3539. You can email me, especially if you have questions that you don't feel comfortable doing here in the forum. And my website is vitalbioenergetics.com. And I also have a weekly podcast called High Vibes, and I also have a YouTube channel under my name, William G. So we'll now open it up for questions. I'll end the share. And
great presentation, Bill. I think there was tons of great information. I'm sure your actual publishing background as a CFO plus a published author was a great help. And I think you have an unfair advantage. Your wife is a great artist. So
that is true.
So yeah, we have several questions, so we'll get them right. We'll get right on to it. And thank you first for everyone who put in their information in the chat. It was great to know about you. And it's also a great way for people to just network with each other. Maybe you can find different type of help. So the first question is from Jen. What are your thoughts on draft to digital?
That I'm unfamiliar with that program, so I'm sorry I can't answer that question because I have no idea what draft to digital is.
So Jen, if you would like to put in a follow-up question, maybe
actually, someone is. It looks like someone is answering that question.
Okay. No, that's me saying we'll answer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we just. Jen, if you can tell us a little bit about what that is, maybe another line or two in a second question, then we can take that on. Okay. So then the next one is also from Jen. Can I use public domain art for cover art?
Yes. However, use it extremely sparingly because public domain art is generally recognizable. You're going to be putting something that is a wood cutting or something like that. Generally, people have seen it before. And the whole idea of a cover is to be unique. And so if you're going to use public domain art, yeah, you can do it. What I would do is if the public domain art really speaks to your story, then what I would do is I would get your cover artist to embellish on it and make it unique, make it yours.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Next question is from Deetrisha, I think. Mm-hmm. How do audiobooks versus ebooks versus physical copies compare profit-wise via Amazon's self-publishing program?
Well, the thing is, with a self-publishing program, you set the percentage of royalty based on how much marketing you want Amazon to do for you. So you can set your royalty at I think it's a 20%, or you can set it at 10%. If the less royalty you take, the less that Amazon's going to do for you as far as getting your book out there as far as exposure is concerned. Personally, I go for the higher royalty rate because I know that my book is very niche. And so most people who are going to buy my book are already interested in what I'm doing. If you're looking to get a wider distribution, then go for the smaller royalty rate, and that puts you on more search, an ability to more searchable within Amazon. So that way people don't have to really be specifically looking for you. As far as profitability, again, I have never made a profit publishing a book because of the amount of time that goes into the book. Time is money. When you put in the time the time, the art, the putting it all together, and then you get your first royalty check and it's $50, and you're like, wow, that was a tremendous waste of time as a revenue source. Now, it's a great source of passive income because once it's out there forever until you take it down. And so as you become more popular in your business, or as you sell more copy, it will start to trickle in more and more and more. I've had, my Conscious Conduit's been out since 2018, and the accumulated royalty on there is somewhere in the few $100 range, which is really, kind of nice. But considering I gave Balboa Press $1,000 to do all the setup, I have not even come close to my expense. So again, you shouldn't think profitability when it comes to writing a book. You first have to think, why am I doing this? And then, yes, audiobooks are going to make you more money in the short term because it takes more to do it. And like I said before, when people buy an audiobook, they'll tend to buy your print book too. So you get a 2-for-1 if you have an audiobook as well as a print book.
Now, of course, for you, because it does bring you your consulting business, that's another way the book helps, isn't it? So
absolutely,
other people may have that approach too. So certainly, it can be part of your marketing, isn't it?
Right. Absolutely. And it is part of your marketing, and you're going to write it off as part of your marketing. Absolutely. When you're doing your taxes, every cent that goes into your book production is a marketing expense. And again, when I'm sitting at a booth at a psychic fair or at this event that in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be at the Natural Living Expo for 2 days, which is New England's premier natural living, extravaganza and whatever. I'm going to be there for 2 days, and I'm going to have copies of my books out there on my table. It's street cred. It is when people come by the table, they're like, oh, this guy wrote books. Oh, I bet he knows what he's talking about, as opposed to somebody else who's sitting at a table with no books at their table, and they're doing something no one's never heard of. It's like, all right, I've never heard of this, and it doesn't look like I really know what they're doing because there's no books. There's no weight behind what they do,
Right. So the next question is from Matthew. If hiring a pro regarding book cover, how much content or background must the author provide them with? For example, does a paragraph about the book's premise suffice, a page, several chapters? I ask because there are many aspects that make my book what it is. It's not just one concept I remit. Thank you in advance.
Your best book cover artists are going to want to know as much as possible about your book. The ones that are not so good are not going to care, because like I said, if you're writing a young adult romance novel about an African-American girl in a wheelchair, the last thing you want to see is a book cover with a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman on it. Because that's the kind of thing that you need. Those are the details that you need to share with your cover artist. What is the book about? Who's your target market? Who do you want to read this book? And some want to read your whole book. Some people can do that. Other people don't want to read the whole book. They just want a synopsis, or they just want a chapter. Those are the types of, and again, that's why you put them in separate files, so that way you can share with your cover artist or your illustrator little things that are going to tell the story through the cover art.
So the next question is regarding book sizing. What size is the most popular?
most popular book, it again depends on the genre. This size book, which is basically your 5x6, or actually no, it's a 5x8. 5x8 is standard size for a self-help book, but a novel is paperback novel is going to be a little smaller than that. It really depends on the genre. It's we have a children's book which is about that big and it's kind of long and whatever, because again it's full of illustrations, so it's a different kind of genre.
Great. The next one is Venus says, can you do just an ebook?
Yeah.
Or do an ebook first?
Yes, you absolutely can. In fact, I do have a book out there called On Air. It was a novel that I wrote several years ago, and it's just available as an ebook because I figured it wasn't good enough for print, but it was good enough for as an ebook. So that's what's out there. Yes, you can do just ebook, but keep in mind, it's very hard to sign a ebook, but it's very easy to sign a print book. And again, print books, some readers just love to hold this thing in their hand and just smell the book and smell the print and whatever. And you have to make sure that you're catering to those particular customers as well as the people who like to read things on tablets.
Great, thank you. Next one is from Tisha. I was referred to BookBaby to publish my children's book. Have you ever used them? Any thoughts?
I have never used BookBaby. Speaking from experience using KDP to publish a children's book, it is not that user-friendly. Publishing a children's book, it was actually a big pain in the butt. So if BookBaby is a better outlet to do that, the biggest advantage of using KDP is it instantly is on Amazon, and most people buy books through Amazon, like them or not. Most people, that's how the people buy the books. So it really comes down to, if BookBaby can provide you with the same distribution, then I'd say go for it, because they're really good that way. Kindle Create has a special program just for children's books, for ebooks, which is great. But again, the printed book is a bit of a pain in the butt, because every page in a children's book is a PDF. And so you have to worry about bleed, you have to worry about sizing and all that stuff. It's like doing a book cover on every page of the book. So it's very time consuming.
Great, very good tips. So the next one is from Jen. It's about Draft to Digital. I think she's clarifying it allows you to publish to Kindle, but also other outlets. I think they charge 15%. I mean, Amazon appears to be the largest self-publishing outlet. Yeah.
Okay, so again, yes, Amazon always takes a percentage. I think the percentage is around 80%, I believe. So you get about a 10 to 20% royalty. So if they're only going to charge 15%, again, take a look at the fine print on that. Are there any upfront costs that they're going to be charging you? Always question an upfront cost, because an upfront cost means that they've already got your money. The thing I like about KDP is there is no upfront cost to publish your book through Amazon, through Kindle, through a KDP. It's all on you. If your book doesn't sell, Amazon doesn't get a penny. So there's advantages and disadvantages of that. So if they're going to charge you an upfront cost, again, take a look again, make sure that they're going to give you the same quality product that Amazon is going to give you. Because again, this book here was published through KDP, Amazon. It's you check out that binding. It's nice binding. This is a quality book. It's not going to fall apart on you. You have to make sure that the quality of their product is up to snuff.
Great. The next question is from Michael. where does Vanity Publishing fit into this landscape?
Yeah, for the people who don't know what Vanity Publishing is, Vanity Publishing is when somebody is writing a book simply to feed their egos. They're not really out there to sell a gazillion copies. They just want to write a book. Just, this could be a book of photography. This could be an autobiography. This could be a family album. Just personal stories and whatever. KDP is great for that, because if you have the option to, and actually I did this with a book that I published, is I bought a bunch of author copies, but it was books for a class. And so I've set the price point really, really high because I didn't want anybody buying it through Amazon. So I purchased a bunch of author copies and then I took it down. Now you can't get the book on Amazon, and you can call that like a vanity publishing. Amazon doesn't care, because by ordering and paying for the author copies, they got their money. You have covered their publishing costs plus their profit margin.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really cool is the author copies. When you order author copies, this book here cost me $4 each. Now they do charge you shipping for these. Even if you have a Prime account, they will charge you shipping. But $4 each for this book. And so I've got plenty of copies on hand. And if I ever decide, yeah, I'm done, that it had a run and I'll take it off. And so, yeah, if you're doing a vanity project, that is definitely, KDP is the way to go.
Great. Yeah.
Because if you're going to go like through Vistaprint or something like that, they'll charge you $70 a copy. Whereas Amazon charges you $5 a copy. It's a no-brainer.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Shira is asking, would you suggest an audio poetry book?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because poetry is meant to be read aloud. I mean, that's why people go to poetry slams and that kind of stuff. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not going to be a long book, obviously, because poetry books are not generally as word heavy as a novel or something like that. But if you like to perform your poetry, if you like to go to those poetry slams and like really crank it out, absolutely put that on audio. Because then again, like I said, people will buy your audio and your print book.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Like, it may be worthwhile to put that extra time.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, it is a performance type of a genre. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So we still have a few questions, so we're going to go over time a little bit, if that's okay with you.
That's
Bill.
fine with me.
So Michael is asking, when using a narrator, is it customary to be able to work closely with them? I'm a poet and would need to exact control over syntax, rhythm, all that aspects.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, when you're hiring a narrator through Audible, they contact you directly. So you are actually going to have a conversation with that person, and they will not produce, if they produce something and you listen to it and you're like, no, they have to re-record it, because that's the contract. They have to give you a product that you are happy with.
So what you mean is, like, if you found somebody through Audible and a narrator, and then they put this together, then you send it to Amazon and they say, no, these are
no. I'm saying that the narrator is going to send it to you first for your approval.
Right. You approve, then you send it to release it.
Then you send it to Audible, and then Audible will then publish it.
Well, if Audible says there are these problems with it, then
you need the author need to send it back to the narrator and say that you need to re-record this because these are problems.
And is that part of your agreement that they would need to do that?
An experienced narrator knows how to set their equipment for Audible's technical specs. So hopefully it's the technical that's not going to be the problem. But for inflection and syntax and that sort of stuff, if you wrote a piece of poetry and you intended it to be read aloud in a deep Southern accent, and the person's coming back at you with an English accent, you're like, no, 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 that's not right. You need to do it with a Southern accent because that's the way that's the way it's supposed to sound.
Great. Thank you. So the next one is from Hiba. How far in advance do you need to upload your file before a publishing date is set?
You can set the publishing date to whatever you want. So once you upload it into Kindle, and I mean into KDP, once it is approved by Amazon, it is live. So if you or you can set a date, a release date. And again, it goes through the same process. So if you want it to be released on a specific date, you set that in the parameters when you are uploading it. And then, then you're good to go at that point. But if you just want it out as quickly as possible, it can be out as quickly as 3 days after your upload.
Great. Yeah, there's 4 more questions. So Marcella is asking, do you recommend using Canva's template to create an ebook?
You can use Canva, but again, you have to remember it needs to be in a JPEG file. I use Canva all the time. In fact, the presentation you just saw was a Canva presentation because I love Canva. Yes, absolutely. You do need to be careful though when creating. In Canva, you can do your squares, you can do whatever, and yes, absolutely, Canva's great.
Great, thank you. The next question is Michael says, what is ballpark cost for a small book?
For a small book, it depends on what your definition of small is. Generally, a book that is like this book here, the Spirit Path book, this one is just over 50,000 words. This one costs me to publish for author copies around $4 or $5 each, plus shipping and handling. So if I'm going to be ordering author copies, I want to make sure I order a lot of them because you'll save on shipping that way. So that's the cost. That's Amazon's cost. And then from there, whatever the markup is beyond that on the print on demand for the people who order it, then you get a percentage of that markup. So if you're going to be publishing your book and selling it for its cost, you're only going to get pennies on the royalty. So you generally want to mark up your book at least 60% above cost.
Great, thank you. Last 2 questions. Shelley is asking, have you had success with selling your books on your website? Do you suggest to do both Amazon and your website?
Do both. I currently don't have my books available on the website. And again, the reason why I do that is because of shipping. Because if people have a Prime account, they get free shipping. And if somebody's going to buy it through my website, I have to charge them shipping and handle it. And the price is the same. Now, the advantage by people buying it through my website, and again, I haven't set it up yet, but I'm planning on it, is they get an autograph copy because then it's coming right out of my house. I can then send it to the post office and send it off. So you can do both. I strongly recommend keeping the Amazon on there because you want it to be, with the great advantage of Amazon is you get worldwide distribution. You can have print books and ebooks distributed anywhere in the world. If you're selling it exclusively through your website, you lose a lot of that international reach. I've had people buy my books from England, from Australia, and whatever, because the Amazon has print-on-demand facilities in those countries, so they can do local shipping from those countries. Or if somebody has a Prime account in Australia, they don't have to pay shipping to get your book. Whereas if somebody bought my book from my website from Australia, I have to charge them 5 times the book just to ship it to them. And again, that not many people are going to want to do that.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. Last question is from Tisha. have you sold books on Barnes and Noble? How does that work?
I do the books I've done through KDP does not go through Barnes and Nobles. You have to go through an established publishing house for that. Conscious Conduit is available at Barnes and Nobles, but it's only available Barnes and Nobles online because I went through Balboa Press, which is a division of Hay House. But these books here, the ones that are through KDP, they're only distributed through Amazon. So in order to get into Barnes and Nobles, you will need to buy one of these marketing packages from one of these book distribution companies. And again, they're very, very pricey, and you generally will not receive a return on your investment.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much, Bill. Those are all the questions we can take today. I think it was a lot of people are saying here that it's very informative and a lot of great information. You answered all the questions, so that also was very helpful, extended the knowledge that we could get. And so thanks again, Bill, for a very nice webinar. And thank you, everyone, for attending, for participating, for your questions. And please keep coming to the future workshops at princeton.score.org. And we will see all of you very shortly. Have a great evening and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. I really, really enjoyed this.